My name's Daniel. I'm 33, I live in Seattle, and up until this year, I thought I was the glue holding my family together. Not because they ever made me feel like it, God knows they didn't, but because I was always the one who showed up. Birthdays, graduations, hospital visits. I was the one buying the gifts, organizing the reunions, paying the tab, and more recently, quietly picking up the financial slack no one ever talked about. Mortgage 2 months behind? Dan will handle it. Someone's car breaks down? Call Danny, he'll get you a rental. Family phone plan short on the bill? Just ask Dan. He makes good money in tech. And for years, I did. Not because I wanted praise, but because I thought that's what being a good son, nephew, and brother looked like. I thought maybe, if I just kept giving, one day they'd treat me like I mattered even half as much as I treated them. But this year broke something in me. I've been planning my 34th birthday for months. I didn't want anything huge, just something meaningful. A weekend getaway at a Penthouse suite in Portland. 2 nights. I covered everything. Rooms for each person, a private chef on Saturday night, tickets to a jazz show downtown, even little care packages I had made with personalized notes and snacks everyone loved. I sent the invites out 6 weeks in advance. Made a group chat. Called everyone personally to make sure the dates worked. My cousin Jess said she was so excited. My sister Amanda swore she'd be there, no matter what. Mom asked if there'd be vegetarian options. There were, of course. I even double-checked the room assignments 3 times to make sure no one would end up sharing if they didn't want to. Friday came. I checked into the suite early, did a walkthrough, and left everyone's envelopes on the beds, each with a handwritten note and a little card with the weekend's schedule. Then I waited. Check-in time passed. No one. An hour. Still nothing. I texted the group. Hey, just checking. Everything okay? Let me know if anyone's running late. No replies. I called Amanda. No answer. Jess. Straight to voicemail. My mom? Sent me to text. I sat by the window, watching the rain blur the city lights, refreshing the group chat, watching the little delivered marks mock me. I kept telling myself there must have been traffic. A flat tire. A delay. Something. But there wasn't. Around 8 p.m., I gave up and ordered room service. Ate alone. Watched the jazz tickets on the coffee table go unused. Slept on the couch even though the master suite was mine, just to avoid seeing the untouched envelopes on everyone else's beds. The next morning, I checked my phone and froze. There it was, posted by my Aunt Linda. A selfie of her, Amanda, Jess, and my mom at Ricky's Diner, the place back home with $5 pancakes and sticky booths. The caption, "Nothing beats spontaneous family dinners." I stared at the photo for a long time. They were all smiling. Matching sweaters. My mom was holding up a glass of lemonade like she was toasting something. Maybe to family. Maybe to loyalty. Maybe to the fact that I was 200 miles away, alone, with a fridge full of catered food and 10 empty chairs. I didn't comment. Didn't text. Didn't call. But something in me clicked. I walked over to the desk, opened my laptop, and started going through the numbers. The mortgage on Mom's house. I've been auto-paying that for the last 8 months. My dad had passed away a few years back, and I never made a big deal about helping her stay afloat. Just said it and forgot it. Car payment? My sister's lease was under my name. She missed a few payments last year, and I quietly stepped in. The family phone plan? That was still tied to my account, too. I never even saw the monthly charges anymore. It was just another number buried in the auto-pay list. I didn't do anything drastic right away. I just paused the payments. Quietly. Methodically. Then I packed up my things, canceled the rest of the suite reservation, and drove back to Seattle in silence. That night, I sat in my apartment, scrolling through old messages. All the "can you help?" texts. The "you're the only one who understands" guilt trips. The Venmo requests. The last-minute emergencies. Birthday cards I'd sent that never got replies. I reread the message I'd sent in the group chat, still unread. The next morning, my phone started buzzing. First it was Amanda. Then Mom. Then Aunt Linda. Then 3 calls from a number I didn't recognize, probably Jess using someone else's phone. I didn't answer. Let it all go to voicemail. By noon, I'd gotten 5 emails, 6 texts, and 2 voice messages that started with fake concern and ended with frantic demands. Mom said, "The mortgage company says they didn't receive the payment. Did your bank mess something up?" Amanda's was shorter. "Hey, the car app says I'm overdue. Can you check that for me?" I turned the phone face down. I made tea. Sat on the balcony. Watched the sun go down over the sound. That evening, Aunt Linda finally texted me something that almost made me laugh. Why are you being so passive-aggressive? If you were hurt, you should have said something. We didn't think it was that serious. And that's when I realized they never thought it was serious. I wasn't a person to them. I was a service, a safety net, a ghost who paid the bills and didn't ask for thanks. The good one who never caused problems, never said no, never missed a holiday even when they missed me. So no, I didn't reply to her either. Instead, I poured another cup of tea and opened up a spreadsheet, one I hadn't looked at in a while. A list of every expense I'd covered in the last 5 years. Dates, amounts, names, all organized, neatly, just in case I ever needed a reminder of how much I'd given and how little I'd gotten in return. And then I started planning the rest of what I'd take back. Monday morning came with a quiet kind of clarity. You know that stillness right before a thunderstorm rolls in? That's what it felt like. Not loud, not angry, just inevitable. I'd spent the night before combing through accounts. I didn't just want to pull the plug. I wanted to do it cleanly, deliberately, and in a way that made it undeniable that this wasn't a bank glitch or a missed reminder. This was me, Daniel, the family doormat with a high credit limit, finally flipping the switch. First, I logged into the mortgage account. The house was in Mom's name, but the auto payment had been running through my account ever since Dad passed. She never asked for it, she expected it. There's a difference. She'd call me crying about how things were tighter than expected after the funeral, and I didn't even hesitate. But since then, not a single thank you. Just subtle digs at how I was lucky to live in a city with tech money, as if that excused the growing list of IOUs no one planned to repay. I didn't cancel the mortgage payment. I revoked the authorization, removed my account completely, and called the bank to confirm it in writing. That alone would raise a red flag by Wednesday when the payment failed to clear. Next, Amanda's car. The lease was under my name because she couldn't qualify on her own credit. I'd co-signed, set up the insurance, and paid the last 3 months without even mentioning it. But over the holidays, she'd posted a story of herself peeling out of the driveway with the caption, "Grind now, shine later." Like she was the one paying for that shiny little BMW. I opened the leasing app, reported that I was no longer financially responsible, and set a 10-day notice to return the vehicle due to non-payment. That would hit her by Friday. Then came the family phone plan. That one hurt, not because it was expensive, but because it was one of the first things I'd ever offered them freely. I'd added my mom, Amanda, my aunt, and even Jess to my unlimited plan years ago, back when I first got promoted. It was stupid, maybe, but I remember thinking, this is something small I can do to make their lives easier. They never even knew what it cost. Never once asked. Just sent me their new phone request whenever their old one cracked or acted slow. So I went into the provider portal, removed all 4 lines, and scheduled the disconnection for Tuesday at midnight. I didn't send a warning, didn't explain. Let them find out the same way I found out they were skipping my birthday, through a screen. By lunchtime, my phone was blowing up. First it was texts. "Mom, Dan, what's happening with the house payment?" I got a call from the bank. "Amanda, is the car app broken? It's saying I'm in violation." "Jess, hey, are you okay? Aunt Linda says your number's acting weird. Can we talk?" Then the calls started again. 5 from Mom, 4 from Amanda, 1 from Aunt Linda, and a string of voicemail full notifications that I ignored like a reflex. But then came the one message that made me pause. Just for a second. It was from my mom. She texted, "I don't know what we did to make you so cold, but this is cruel, Daniel. Cruel." That word sank in deeper than I expected. Not because she was right, but because it confirmed everything I already knew. In her mind, I was being unreasonable. Not hurt. Not disappointed. Cruel. As if backing away from years of unpaid labor and one-sided love made me heartless. I stared at the message for a while. Then I typed something, deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. What was the point? No one really heard me before. Why would they start now? So instead, I sent nothing. Not even a read receipt. But I did something else. I opened that spreadsheet I'd started, the one with every expense, every date, every favor that was never returned. And I added a new tab, emotional labor. I started jotting down moments. Christmas Eve 2019, when I stayed up assembling Amanda's kids' bikes while everyone else drank and watched movies. The time Jess forgot her wallet at brunch and said, "You don't mind, right?" in front of 6 people. My mom's 60th, when I footed the catering bill and she spent half the party telling her friends how distant I'd been lately. Line after line. Not because I needed payback, but because I needed to remember. I needed to stop rewriting history to make their behavior feel less hollow. By the end of Monday, I had another plan forming. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. I wasn't going to ruin their lives. That's never been my style. But I was going to finally let them live their lives, the ones they kept pretending they built on their own. Without me, without my money, without my silence. And I had one last move to make before the week was over. It involved a letter. A printed one. Folded and sealed. But I'll save that for later. Because that night, just as I turned off the lights and got into bed, I saw one more post. A Facebook status from my Aunt Linda. It's funny how the people you do the most for are the first to act like you never did enough. The comments? Full of supportive clucks and so true emojis. And that was it. That was the moment I stopped grieving my family and started preparing for the fallout. Because they thought I was just going to fade into the background again. They had no idea what I was about to do next. Tuesday morning started like any other: coffee, email, a quick scroll through news, but the air felt different. I wasn't dreading the usual flood of requests or passive-aggressive guilt trips. I knew they were coming, sure. But for once, I wasn't panicking. I wasn't racing to fix anything. I wasn't available. I was free. Until the notifications started. The family group chat, once silent for days at a time, suddenly lit up like a Christmas tree on fire. Amanda texted, "Okay, seriously, what is going on? My car is locked. I can't even open it." Mom texted, "Daniel, the phone is off." "Mine too. What's happening? Call me from your work phone or something." Jess texted, "Wait, did you really cancel all this over a missed birthday?" Aunt Linda texted, "Dan, you need to grow up. This isn't how family handles things. You're acting like a child." A child. That one actually made me laugh. The irony of being called immature by the same woman who still gets her phone paid for by her nephew wasn't lost on me. Still, I said nothing. The phone rang again, Amanda this time. Then Mom. Then again. I watched the names appear and vanish without touching the screen. I wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. Because what they didn't know was that I'd already set everything else in motion. That sealed letter I mentioned? It was now printed, addressed, and ready to be mailed. 5 copies, one for each of them. Inside was no big dramatic speech. No insults. No lectures. Just receipts. Literal ones. A breakdown of everything I'd paid for in the past 6 years. House payments. Car bills. Insurance. Groceries. Phones. Even a $3,000 emergency dental bill Jess had conveniently forgotten I'd covered 2 Christmases ago. Each section was labeled by name and year. Nothing accusatory. Just cold, hard numbers. And at the end? A single paragraph. I've kept quiet for years, thinking that maybe, one day, the effort I put into this family would be noticed. That someone would say thank you. That someone would show up for me. That didn't happen. So now I'm showing up for myself. Going forward, I won't be funding anyone's life but my own. Consider this the last favor I'll do in silence. I didn't include a return address. Just a type name, Daniel M. By Wednesday, those letters would arrive. By Thursday, the next wave would hit. Because while they were scrambling to figure out how to keep the lights on, I was making sure they finally saw the cost of everything they took for granted. But what none of them realized yet, what I hadn't told anyone, was that this wasn't just about the money. It was about the truth. See, for the past 2 years, I'd been quietly documenting everything. Not just the expenses, but the conversations, the messages, the screenshots, the voice notes. Every time I was gaslit, guilt-tripped, or brushed off, I had it all. Not because I ever planned to use it, but because somewhere deep down, I always knew this day would come. That I'd have to prove to myself that I wasn't crazy. That I had been used, dismissed, taken advantage of. I wasn't going to post it online. I wasn't going to start a war. But I was going to tell my story. In my words. And I knew exactly how. See, what I hadn't told them, and what they clearly never bothered to ask, was that I'd recently started writing under a pseudonym. Just short essays. Personal stories. Observations about family, loyalty, and boundaries. I submitted one to a mid-sized blog that focused on emotional wellness and recovery from toxic relationships. A piece titled, "The Invisible Sun." They published it last week. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. And judging by the traction, it was already getting shares, comments, emails from strangers thanking me for finally putting their feelings into words. I wasn't alone. The most popular comment so far? I thought I was the only one. "Thank you for making me feel seen." I hadn't responded yet, but I would, because that's who I am. I show up for people who actually see me. By Wednesday morning, when the letters landed and the phone stayed off, I imagined the panic would hit a new level. There'd be yelling, blaming, maybe even a rushed plan to stage an intervention or rope in a neutral cousin to mediate. But that wasn't going to work anymore, because I was done waiting for them to act like a family. They'd made their choice the night they skipped my birthday and smiled for selfies at a cheap diner. And I'd made mine when I stopped answering. But the real twist? That was still coming. Wednesday morning came with no real surprises, only the deep, detached calm that settles in when the storm you've been waiting for finally arrives. I woke up to 17 missed calls, 5 voicemails, 2 long emails with subject lines in all caps. My phone buzzed like a beehive about to collapse, each new ping another ripple in the aftermath I'd already made peace with. The letters had been delivered. I knew that because Jess texted me short, clipped, and full of nerve. She said, "You really kept receipts? Over $12,000? Are you trying to shame us?" "No, Jess. If I wanted to shame you, I'd have sent copies to your workplace." Then Aunt Linda chimed in, this time via email. "Daniel, this is an unnecessary escalation. Family isn't about transactions. We've all made sacrifices. You just happened to be in a position to help. You should feel proud, not resentful." I stared at that sentence. You just happened to be in a position to help. And there it was, the final confirmation. In their eyes, none of what I gave was generosity. None of it was sacrifice. It was just expected. I wasn't a son, or a brother, or a nephew. I was a debit card. No one called to apologize. Not sincerely. No one said, "I'm sorry we didn't show up." No one asked how I felt. They were too busy panicking about the fact that I wasn't holding up the sky for them anymore. That afternoon, the lease company picked up Amanda's car. I watched the app light up with status changes in real time. Payment failed. Account suspended. Vehicle disabled. Then finally, vehicle retrieved. It must have been a scene. Amanda, standing in her apartment parking lot in gym clothes, watching her little BMW get towed away while yelling at someone who couldn't help her. Probably still assuming I'd swoop in last minute. But I didn't. Because Amanda hadn't just skipped my birthday. She'd built a version of me in her mind that only existed to bail her out, her safety net, not her brother. She couldn't even say, "Happy birthday," but expected me to keep her dream car rolling. Nope, not anymore. That evening, I made one final change. I closed the joint account I'd opened for Mom a few years ago, the one I quietly refilled every month to keep things stable. It had started after Dad passed, and I knew the bills were stacking up. I never made it a big deal. I just slipped a few $100s in here and there. But it was never temporary. Because once people realize you won't let them sink, they stop swimming. I transferred the remaining balance, just under $1,400, into my personal account, then shut it down completely. No note. No heads up. Just done. Within an hour, my phone rang. It was Mom. I didn't pick up, but she left a voicemail. "Daniel, what are you doing? This isn't you. You don't do this. I don't understand why you're being so cruel. If this is about your birthday, we can fix it. I'll make it up to you. But this is overreacting." No, this wasn't about my birthday. This was about every birthday, every Christmas, every phone call that only came when someone needed a favor. Every time I was treated like an afterthought unless I was opening my wallet. It was about the way my family loved my resources more than they loved me. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to explain myself. The next few days were a blur of fallout. Amanda posted a vague rant on Instagram. "Some people love to remind you what they've done for you. That's not love, it's control." Jess commented with a heart emoji. Aunt Linda shared a passive-aggressive meme about "the real ones always stick around." My mom stayed quiet publicly, but she texted me every morning. First with pleading, then guilt, then silence. And then Friday night, something I hadn't expected. A long, handwritten letter arrived in my mailbox. Not typed, not emailed. Actual pen on paper. It was from my mom. It wasn't perfect. It didn't excuse everything, but it didn't deny it either. She said she hadn't realized how far things had gone. That she thought I was just strong enough to always handle the weight. That she had noticed all the things I'd done. She just didn't know how to say it. She ended it with, "You didn't deserve to be invisible. I'm sorry it took this to see it." And I sat there, letter in hand, for a long time. Because that one sentence, those 13 words, were the first real sign of accountability I'd seen in years. I didn't cry. I didn't call her. But I didn't throw the letter away either. I folded it gently and put it in a drawer. Some things, I realized, didn't need revenge or confrontation or grand declarations. Some things just needed closure. And I'd finally found mine. In the weeks that followed, things stayed quiet. Just stopped texting. Amanda sent one last "you" message and fell off the map. Aunt Linda kept posting cryptic nonsense about loyalty and forgiveness, but I'd long since muted her. My mom? She didn't ask me to pay the mortgage again. She didn't bring up the money. She just started asking how I was. At first, it was awkward. Shallow questions about my work. But over time, it got better. She sent me a photo of the flowers blooming in her front yard. Asked what books I was reading. Even called me just to say goodnight one time. It wasn't a full repair. Not yet. But it was the first time in years I felt like a son, not a sponsor. I started sleeping better. Eating better. I joined a local writing group. Took a solo trip to Alaska. Laughed more. And the blog post? It kept spreading. One day, I got an email from a woman in Toronto who said she read it out loud to her therapist. Another from a guy in Texas who said he finally canceled his own family's financial leash. They weren't strangers anymore. They were proof. Proof that letting go of toxic family dynamics isn't heartless. It's healing. So here I am, months later, telling this story not because I want pity or applause, but because maybe, just maybe, someone reading this is where I was. Alone. Unseen. Tired of being the good one who always gets the worst treatment. And if that's you, let me say what no one said to me. You're allowed to stop showing up for people who never showed up for you. You're allowed to draw the line, even if they call you cruel. You're allowed to take your power back. Because you deserve more than crumbs. You deserve a seat at the table or the strength to walk away from it. And when you do, trust me, your silence will say everything they refuse to hear.